They're not scared of you, they're scared of needing you. But what if your words could slip past their armor and make them crave your presence? Today, I'm going to give you the language that turns distance into desire. Want the avoidant addicted to you? You must understand something fundamental. Addiction isn't born from chasing, from pleading, from proving your worth. Addiction is born from contrast, from the difference between how they feel with you and how they feel without you. When someone avoids intimacy, it's not because they don't care. It's because closeness feels unsafe. They've learned somewhere along the way that love means losing themselves. So the more you push, the more they pull away. But the moment you understand that freedom is your greatest weapon, the game changes. Your words must feel like an open door, not a cage. Say things like, I love that you have your own space. I respect that about you. Do you feel the difference? Instead of making them feel trapped, you've told them, I see you. I accept you. I honor your independence. That kind of language disarms the avoidant mind. Speak to their hidden self, the self that nobody else sees, the side of them that longs to be understood without being fixed. Use words like, I'm not here to change you. I'm here to know you. That's oxygen to a person who spent their life holding their breath in relationships. And never forget, they will only lean into someone who stands tall in their own power. Your tone, your presence, your choice of words must communicate I am whole with or without you. When you say, I choose you, but I don't need you to complete me, you become magnetic. Curiosity is your secret ally. Use phrases that make them wonder about you. That hint at depth without spilling everything. There's so much I haven't told you yet. You'll figure me out in time. These aren't just words. They're invitations into mystery. And mystery is addictive. Affirm their value without strings. You see things most people miss. I admire how you think. When they feel seen for their strengths instead of pressured to change, the emotional bond deepens in silence. Finally, plant words that echo. You're not trying to win the conversation, you're planting seeds. Seeds that grow when you're not there. Words that haunt them in the best way, because when they're alone and they remember how you made them feel, that's when the craving begins. So don't speak to win. Speak to awaken. Speak with purpose, with freedom, with strength. Let every word remind them you are not here to take from them, you are here to inspire them. And once they feel that, distance will no longer feel like safety. You will. When you're dealing with someone who has avoidant tendencies, the instinct most people have is to chase harder when they feel the other person pulling away. That's human nature. We think that if we just show them more love, more attention, more reassurance, they'll finally feel safe enough to come closer. But here's the truth for an avoidant. That approach is like pouring water on a grease fire. The more you push, the more they feel the need to retreat, not because they don't like you or don't care, but because closeness has become wired in their nervous system as a potential threat to their autonomy. That's why leading with freedom instead of force changes everything. Freedom is magnetic because it removes pressure. It communicates, I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm not here to trap you. This shifts the dynamic immediately. Instead of fighting to maintain space, the avoidant suddenly feels they can breathe around you. And when someone can breathe, they can also begin to open up. It's like telling a bird, I'm not closing the cage door. I'm just standing here, letting you decide if you want to come closer. That subtle change in energy is often the difference between deepening a connection and watching it dissolve. When you lead with freedom, your words should reflect that energy. Statements like, I love that you have your own space, or I admire your independence, don't just sound nice. They validate a core part of their identity. You're telling them, I see you, I respect you, and I'm not here to change you. This validation is powerful because one of the avoidant's biggest fears is losing their sense of self in a relationship. If you can reassure them through your words and actions that you honor their individuality, you remove a huge subconscious barrier. The reason this works is rooted in psychology. Avoidants often learned early in life that connection came with strings attached, maybe through controlling parenting, inconsistent love, or relationships where they felt smothered. So their nervous system associates closeness with a loss of control. Leading with freedom communicates the opposite. You're safe here. You're in control of your choices. And paradoxically, when someone feels safe and in control, they often choose more closeness voluntarily. It's also important to understand that freedom doesn't mean disinterest. It's not about being cold, distant, or playing games. It's about balancing warmth with spaciousness. You can still show appreciation, still express affection, but you do it without the energy of, I need you to respond in a certain way. That's what makes it powerful. If they sense your love is conditional on them being closer, they'll retreat. If they sense your love is freely given and you respect their pace, they'll lean in over time. One of the best ways to lead with freedom is to use invitational language rather than directive language. An invitation sounds like, I'd love to see you when you're free, instead of, You never spend time with me, we need to talk. One respects their autonomy, the other puts them on the defensive. Think about how you feel when someone gives you a choice versus when they demand something from you. Choice feels empowering. And empowerment is one of the most addictive feelings you can offer someone with avoidant patterns. When you consistently communicate freedom, you stop being another source of pressure in their life and start being the one place where they feel relief. That's when everything changes. That's when they start seeking you out, not because they have to, but because they want to. And when someone wants to be near you, that's when connection becomes truly sustainable. Every person has two layers of self, the one they present to the world and the one they keep hidden. With avoidance, the contrast between these two layers is often extreme. The outer self is composed, self-reliant, sometimes even emotionally distant. It's the part they've built to survive in a world where vulnerability once felt unsafe. The hidden self, though, is another story. Beneath the calm exterior, there's often a deep reservoir of feelings, longings, and unspoken needs. The problem is most people speak only to the surface, to the guarded self, and never manage to touch what's underneath. If you want to truly connect with an avoidant, you must learn to speak directly to that hidden self, the part they protect most fiercely, yet secretly want someone to understand. Speaking to the hidden self requires more than just the right words. It requires a shift in intention. If your goal is to get them to open up, you're already starting from the wrong place, because the hidden self can't be accessed through force or agenda. It can only be reached through presence, patience, and authenticity. This is where tone, pacing, and emotional alignment matter as much as the literal words you choose. You're not interrogating them, you're creating a safe emotional space where they feel invited to reveal themselves. One of the most effective ways to bypass the guarded self is to speak in ways that acknowledge their inner world without trying to fix it. Phrases like, "I can see you've been carrying a lot," or "It's okay if you don't have the words right now," send a powerful message. I'm not here to judge or rush you. This is different from the typical approach people take, which often sounds like, "You never tell me how you feel," or "Why are you shutting me out?" Those statements reinforce the walls because they feel like attacks, even if that's not your intention. To speak to the hidden self, you must also listen for what isn't being said. Avoidants often communicate in subtle ways, through body language, changes in energy, or small hints dropped in passing. If you respond to those cues with empathy rather than demands, you begin to build trust. For example, if they say, "It's been a long day," you could reply, "Yeah, I can feel that." You don't have to explain, just rest. That kind of understanding is rare, and the hidden self recognizes it instantly. Another key is vulnerability on your part. The guarded self respects strength, but the hidden self responds to authenticity. When you share a piece of your truth, not in an oversharing or pressure-filled way, but in a grounded and sincere tone, you signal, "It's safe for you to be real here." Something as simple as, "Sometimes I feel the need to pull away too," can create a bridge. It lets them know you understand the impulse without making it wrong. Over time, when you consistently engage with that hidden self, you'll notice a shift. Their words may become a little more open, their body language a little softer, their eyes meeting yours for just a moment longer. These may seem like small changes, but in the world of an avoidant, they are massive. Each moment of authentic connection feeds the hidden self's hunger for acceptance without control. And once they experience that, the guarded self no longer needs to work as hard to protect them. This is the slow work of emotional intimacy, not breaking down walls, but earning the right to be let inside. When your words consistently bypass their defenses and touch the place they've kept hidden from most people, you become not just another voice in their life, but the voice their soul listens for. Avoidants are instinctively drawn to strength, not in the sense of dominance or control, but in the form of grounded self-assurance. When you communicate from a place of confidence, you project emotional stability, and that stability feels safe to someone who is wary of intimacy. The opposite, speaking from desperation, insecurity, or emotional volatility, creates the exact kind of environment they fear. If your words carry an undertone of, "I need you to respond in a certain way so I can feel okay," you hand them the signal that closeness equals pressure, and pressure is the very thing they're wired to avoid. Reflecting strength in your words begins with the energy you bring to the conversation. Strength says, "I am complete as I am. I choose to share myself with you, but my value isn't dependent on your reaction." When you speak from that place, even if the words are gentle, they have a kind of unshakable presence. For example, "I enjoy being with you, but I also value my time to recharge," sends a much more powerful message than, "I wish you'd spend more time with me." One is rooted in self-awareness and independence, the other communicates lack and longing. This doesn't mean you can't express desire or vulnerability. In fact, real strength includes vulnerability, but it's vulnerability without collapse. You can say, "I care about you deeply," without adding, "and I'm falling apart when you're not here." The first statement communicates openness, the second communicates emotional dependency. An avoidant can feel the difference instantly. They will lean toward the person who can love without losing themselves in the process. Part of speaking from strength is setting boundaries in a calm and respectful way. When you articulate what you will and won't accept without anger or manipulation, you show that you know your worth. Avoidants are more likely to respect someone who maintains self-respect than someone who tolerates being pushed aside just to keep the connection. If they pull away, instead of pleading, you might say, "I understand you need space. I'll be focusing on my own priorities, and I'm here when you're ready to reconnect." That's not coldness. It's strength with compassion. Your tone plays a massive role in this. Words spoken from tension, fear, or resentment will often be met with defensiveness. Words spoken from a place of grounded certainty, even when expressing disappointment, carry a different vibration. Think about the difference between saying, "You're ignoring me again," versus, "I feel more connected when we check in regularly, but I respect your rhythm." One creates a fight, the other invites cooperation while standing in your truth. Avoidants also subconsciously test for emotional resilience. If every withdrawal or pause on their part triggers panic or insecurity in you, they will sense it and pull away further. But if your words show that you can handle space, silence, or slower pacing without losing your center, you become someone they can trust. Phrases like, "Take the time you need," or "I'm here when you're ready," are not just words, they're evidence that you're not going to collapse under the weight of their boundaries. Ultimately, speaking from strength is about embodying the truth that you are already whole. You're not trying to earn their love through performance or over-giving. You're not attempting to control the outcome of every interaction. You're simply showing up as the most authentic, grounded version of yourself and allowing them the space to meet you there. That's the paradox. The less you try to hold on, the more they will want to hold on to you. And when your words consistently reflect that inner steadiness, you become a source of both respect and attraction in their eyes, the kind of person they can't help but be drawn to. Emotional curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in human connection, and for someone with avoidant tendencies, it can be the gateway to deeper intimacy. Avoidants often protect themselves by keeping emotional distance, but curiosity works differently from pressure. It doesn't demand, it invites. When your words leave them wondering, imagining, and wanting to know more, you create a natural pull toward you without triggering their instinct to retreat. Instead of trying to force closeness through constant reassurance or declarations, you allow space for their mind to engage with you voluntarily. That's when their interest shifts from guarded observation to active pursuit. The key to sparking emotional curiosity lies in how you reveal yourself. If you lay out your entire emotional landscape from the beginning, you remove the intrigue. But if you share just enough to hint at your depth, you give them a reason to lean in and explore further. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about pacing your emotional self-disclosure in a way that feels organic and intriguing. For example, saying, "There's a story behind why I think that way. I'll tell you someday," plants a seed. It opens a loop in their mind that they will naturally want to close. Another way to inspire curiosity is to speak in ways that connect to their values and unique way of seeing the world. Avoidants often have rich inner lives, even if they don't share them readily. When you comment on something they've said with genuine interest, such as, "That's an interesting perspective, what made you see it that way?" you're not just making small talk, you're showing them that you value their inner world. And when they feel valued, they're more likely to reveal more of it. Your own life outside the relationship also plays a huge role. Curiosity isn't just about words, it's about energy. If you're living a life that's full, purposeful, and evolving, the avoidant will notice. When you share pieces of that life in conversation, "I tried something new this weekend, and it completely changed how I see things." You're communicating that you are dynamic, not stagnant. This creates a subtle tension in their mind. They realize there's always more to discover about you. It's also important to know when to leave space in the conversation. Curiosity thrives in silence just as much as it does in dialogue. If you answer every question immediately, overshare, or fill every gap, you leave no room for them to think about you afterward. Sometimes ending a conversation on a high note before everything has been said is what makes them reach out again. Phrases like, "I have a thought on that, but let's save it for next time," or "You'll understand when you see it," leave them engaged long after the interaction is over. Humor and playfulness can also be part of this dynamic. Teasing lightly, using metaphors, or speaking in imagery rather than blunt facts can draw them in emotionally. Saying, "You're harder to read than my favorite mystery novel," can spark a smile, while subtly letting them know you're paying attention to their complexity. When done with authenticity, creating emotional curiosity becomes a natural rhythm in the relationship. It's not about withholding affection or playing hot and cold games. It's about cultivating a dynamic where there is always something unfolding between you. Avoidants are less likely to resist someone they can't easily predict, because unpredictability, when paired with emotional safety, becomes exciting instead of threatening. And once they feel that blend of security and intrigue, they'll keep coming back, not because they feel obligated, but because they want to know what's next. One of the most underestimated needs in an avoidance emotional world is the desire to be valued for who they already are, without the implication that they need to be fixed or improved. Many avoidants have spent years feeling like projects in the eyes of partners, people trying to draw them out, make them open up, or get them to change. While some of those intentions might come from a place of love, they often land as pressure or rejection. The underlying message is, you're not enough as you are, and for someone whose core fear is losing themselves in a relationship, that message can be suffocating. Affirming their value without trying to change them is one of the most disarming, trust-building things you can do. When you affirm an avoidance value, you're speaking directly to their deep need for acceptance. This isn't just about throwing out generic compliments, "You're great" or "You're smart," but about noticing the unique qualities they bring into the world and naming them specifically. For example, saying, "I admire how you see patterns other people miss," or "You have a way of making situations calmer when you're around," shows them that you truly see them. These kinds of statements hit on two important psychological notes. They validate their individuality, and they reinforce their strengths without judgment. The key is to make these affirmations without attachment to an immediate response. If you say something affirming with the hidden hope that it will make them open up, they will often sense the expectation and pull away. True affirmation comes with no strings attached. You're not giving them praise as a transaction. You're simply acknowledging what's already there because it's real and worth honoring. This lack of pressure is what allows the words to sink in instead of triggering resistance. It's also worth remembering that avoidants are often their own harshest critics. They may appear confident or self-reliant, but beneath the surface they can carry self-doubt, perfectionism, or a constant internal measuring stick. When you affirm their value, you're offering a counterbalance to that inner critic. You're not trying to erase it or argue with it. You're simply planting a truth that can grow quietly over time. Sometimes they won't even react outwardly to your affirmation, but that doesn't mean it hasn't landed. Often those words echo later in moments when they least expect it. Another important piece of affirming their value is refraining from over-analyzing or over-interpreting their behavior. Avoidants tend to feel scrutinized in relationships, as if every withdrawal, every pause, every quiet moment is a problem to be solved. When you give them the gift of not making everything about what's wrong with them, you create a rare and safe space. You can say, "I trust your way of doing things," or "I appreciate the way you handle challenges," instead of, "Why do you always," or "You should try too." This subtle shift in language tells them that you're not here to mold them into your vision, but to appreciate the person they already are. Over time, consistent non-transactional affirmation can become the foundation for emotional closeness. When they realize that they are safe to be themselves with you, they'll often start showing more of that self without being asked. The ironic truth is, the more you try to fix an avoidant, the more they hide. The more you affirm them as they are, the more they reveal. By speaking life into their existing strengths, you become a source of nourishment instead of pressure, and that makes you someone they'll naturally want to keep close. The most powerful words are not always the ones spoken in the moment. They are the ones that linger long after you've left. For someone with avoidant tendencies, this is even more important, because they often process emotions in private, not in the heat of a conversation. They may not react immediately to something you've said, but later, in the quiet of their own space, those words can replay in their mind, shaping the way they see you and the connection you share. Planning words that echo in silence means choosing language that resonates deeply enough to be remembered and subtle enough not to feel like pressure. Avoidants are highly sensitive to tone and intent. If your words feel like an attempt to force closeness or demand an immediate response, they may resist or withdraw. But when your words are delivered with calm confidence and a sense of timelessness, they become seeds. Seeds don't sprout instantly. They need time, the right conditions, and space to grow. Your role isn't to dig them up and check for progress. It's to trust that they're working beneath the surface. The way to create words that echo is to speak in a way that touches both the mind and the heart. A purely logical statement might be understood, but it won't necessarily be felt. Likewise, an overly emotional statement may feel overwhelming in the moment and get shut out, but when you combine sincerity with brevity and leave space for the other person to absorb it, you create a lasting impression. Something like, "You make the world feel calmer when you're around," or You're the kind of person people remember, can stay with them for days. The key here is not to overuse this approach. If every sentence you speak is designed to be profound, it can start to feel heavy or contrived. Instead, allow these kinds of phrases to arise naturally in moments when you genuinely feel them. When they are rare and authentic, they stand out. An avoidant is far more likely to think about one sincere statement you made in passing than 100 repeated reassurances. Timing also matters. Often, words spoken during moments of low emotional pressure are the ones that stick the longest. If you share something meaningful while you're simply enjoying each other's company, on a walk, over a meal, or in a quiet moment, it bypasses their defenses. In contrast, if you say it during an argument or when they feel cornered, it may be dismissed as a tactic rather than a truth. Letting your words breathe also means resisting the urge to immediately explain or justify them. Sometimes silence after a statement is more powerful than more talking. For example, if you say, "I respect the way you think," and then pause, you give them room to feel it instead of distracting them with more conversation. That pause is often where the connection deepens, even if they don't acknowledge it at the time. Over time, the words you've planted begin to shape the way they experience you. They start to associate your presence with a feeling of being understood, valued, and safe. That's the essence of emotional addiction, not manipulation, but the repeated experience of a person as a source of comfort and positive reinforcement. When you choose your words with the intention of leaving a gentle, lasting imprint rather than pushing for immediate change, you align with the avoidant's natural rhythm. You give them the space to arrive at connection on their own terms, guided by the quiet power of what you've left behind. And so, if you truly want the avoidant to feel drawn, even addicted to your presence, it's not about force, persuasion, or emotional pursuit. It's about alignment. It's about speaking in a way that honors their freedom, reaches the part of them they hide, reflects your own strength, sparks their curiosity, affirms their value, and leaves them with words that echo long after you're gone. When you embody these principles, you stop being a source of pressure and start being a source of peace, and that is a feeling no one forgets. Thank you for showing up with an open mind and a willing heart today. Thank you for investing in your growth, your relationships, and your ability to love in a way that inspires connection instead of fear. Remember, the words you choose can either close doors or open them wide, so choose words that awaken, words that heal, and words that create the kind of bond that lasts.